Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners. As well as today, we have a very special guest for you, software business owner. You've definitely used or have heard of his software, so very, very excited to have him on. But these amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7, and 8-figure digital agencies and software businesses, and how you can too. And so my name is Chris Martinez. I am the CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes so that they can take on more website projects and scale profitably. And today we have got a man who needs no introduction, Mikael Yan, co-founder and CEO of ManyChat. Welcome to the show, Mike. How are you, sir?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Awesome to have you on, man. Like, we've been trying to put this together for a while, so I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, the schedule is keeping me busy, but I'm really glad that we have a chance to spend some time together.
So, we start off every interview with what we call the roundtable discussion, and you've had quite the journey. So, like, you born in Russia, and then now you've made the way out to California, and you're actually living in Silicon Valley. Like, you've been kind enough to interrupt your vacation in Tahoe right now. But so for
It's
the
not a
round,
vacation.
all right. So for the roundtable discussion topic, I would like to talk about what life is actually like in Silicon Valley, because I believe you went through an incubator program, and
Yep.
your ManyChat has over 1 million pages. You said connected, just massive, massive growth, and you're in the hub of technology for all intents and purposes. What's it really like? Like, is it like what we
Yeah.
see on TV, or like, is it like what you expected it to be? Like, what's the transition
Yeah.
been like living there?
Uh, it's when I was coming to Silicon Valley, like for the first time, I think it was like 2014. I didn't really have a lot of expectations. And if you think about how you think about it, like how you see it on TV, like some of the stuff is pretty accurate. And a lot of the jokes and a lot of the uh, things that are being said are actually like have a basis for truth, for being true. Um, yeah, it's I live in Palo Alto. Like
Hmm.
it's a basically it's a village. Like the whole Silicon Valley. Like if you go from San Francisco to San Jose, right? It's just villages after villages of or cities. It's just uh, they're not like it's hard to call them like cities in a way that like you imagine like a city to have like at least uh, uh, some multi-story, multi-floor buildings, etc. The Silicon Valley, from if you don't count San Jose and San Francisco, it's pretty much all houses, and it's very nice. It's very nice weather. In San Francisco, it's usually a bit colder
Yeah.
because San Francisco is not protected with the hills. Like it basically directly goes into the ocean. But Palo Alto, that sits between San Francisco and San Jose, is has this nice protection with that. Basically, it's almost like for the most part it's sunny, and
Yeah.
it's very nice.
That's
Um,
great.
and it's not a lot of stress, like because there's not a lot of things going on. It's just the majority of the time I work. If I spend half of my time with the uh, San Francisco team, half of my time with our Moscow team, and whenever I'm in California, it's usually a lot of remote work. So it's very nice. Can't complain.
So now, from the culture standpoint, what you see on TV, I'm particularly thinking of like the Social Network movie, where
Yeah,
all these guys are in a house. They're either partying or they're
yeah,
programming, and it's just like madness. And
yeah.
your neighbors are all tech startup founders and stuff. Like,
Yes.
like, how accurate is that? Like, are you Uh,
100% accurate.
that is? You're just partying the whole time?
No, it's like you are surrounded. Like if you take Palo Alto and like the whole Silicon Valley, like everybody is going to be like somehow connected to tech. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like a monoculture, and like every like you go to you used to before coronavirus. Like I used to go to Blue Bottle for the breakfast, and I would be thinking about how like I would be just trying to one second,
No problem.
sorry,
No, it's all good.
had some a call coming up.
No worries.
Anyway, so basically, I usually go for breakfast to a Blue Bottle, and like everything you hear around you is about tech, like just literally everything. All the conversations that are happening at the other tables. Um, so yeah, that thing is definitely true. In terms of like partying and coding, etc., depends on the culture of the company, right? Like if you're starting something in your dorm, like if you're uh, like graduating from Stanford, etc., I imagine that it would be there would be companies that would be like that.
Hmm.
I also imagine that there would be a lot of companies that are not like that. They're just like doing their thing and just being
It's like normal people.
yeah. Um, I think it just depends on the culture.
Yeah.
So like for example, we like for example ManyChats, we start remotely. Then when we grew to like 15, 20 people, we actually decided to uh, fly in for a few weeks and spend some time in a house. And it wasn't like crazy. Like, I wouldn't say that was like crazy partying. Like it was just a lot of work and a lot of uh, uh, like great social experiences.
Yeah.
Um, you know, sure, like we would have like a few parties, but it wasn't like this work hard, play hard type of thing. Like oh, like extreme work, then like extreme partying, etc.
Yeah.
I think it was much more just having a great time, working on something you enjoy, talk to and spend time with people you enjoy, and then sometimes you have like some partying. So
Nice.
um, and for then the team like the whole the company has grown, but actually we do have like after we have like 2 week sprints, and that means that after like each 2 weeks, every 2 weeks we release. Actually, we do the releases throughout the sprint,
Hmm.
but like by the end of the sprint, like it's like we have to achieve like what we've set out as a sprint goal for ourselves. And after that, after we do that review, like some of the people would go and like basically have a happy hour. Um, but again, like it's hard for me. Like you see those images, it's like uh, full blown like raging, and that's not like it's basically a uh, going to a bar after work. That's how that feels like.
Yeah. Well, magically in the movies, they don't get hangovers somehow. So,
Yeah, exactly.
that's a little outside of reality.
Given the
Well,
fact that the next day is going to be after sprint, like after ending the sprint, the next day is going to be sprint planning
another
for the
sprint.
next sprint. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Cool. Well, let's talk about ManyChat. Obviously, that's the whole reason why we're here. And I want to hear it from you. So, what is the elevator pitch or the value proposition for ManyChat?
sure. So the elevator pitch goes like this: the world has changed. Consumers became mobile, and everything that was done in the direct one-on-one marketing world was built for desktop. In the mobile world, channels are fragmented, and email is not enough. Email is not the only channel anymore. So you have to have a mobile strategy, how you're going to be connected with customers. And that's where ManyChat comes in, because we provide you with a solution that helps your business connect with your customers who are on their mobile. That
Awesome.
means SMS, messaging apps like Facebook Messenger, mobile email, all of the channels that you would need as a business. we become the communication platform for your business to help you do marketing, sales, and service.
That's awesome. So, like lots of people, our audience are digital agency owners. So I'm sure that all of them have used our customers currently or know of ManyChat. How did you come up with this idea? Because did you own an agency before, or did you just, like, what was the inspiration for this solution?
Yeah, I've never owned an agency. That said, we did run several businesses prior to starting ManyChat, and one of the things that we did was build our own messaging app, and that's where we saw that people who engage with each other on through messaging, they have a much higher retention. It's a very, very sticky product once
Hmm.
you have that back and forth, because that creates a kind of like an engagement loop. You send a message that brings the other person back, that person sends a message back. So those engagement loops like keep people coming back to the apps. And we saw that like uh, 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 we saw that when like messaging apps were like gaining a lot of popularity,
Hmm.
right? But nobody was thinking about them as a business communication platform. Nobody was thinking about them to use them for business purposes. It was more like it was all about consumer uh, um, products. Um, and in 2015, Telegram opened up their API. And Telegram is for those of you who don't know what Telegram is a messaging app, kind of like WhatsApp, right? It's a popular in different countries, and it has different feature sets. But the use case is the same, right? It's basically messaging, having direct connection with your friends and family and colleagues, group chats, etc. And what was great about that is that it provided an opportunity to create automated experiences on Telegram. And Telegram at that point had like 65 million monthly active users. So that's not a lot, to be honest. For a messaging app like where you have like hundreds of millions at that point, like WhatsApp probably had like, I don't know, definitely like over half a billion at that point.
Hmm.
And but still, like it was 65 million users that you could build something for. So what we decided to do is we decided to launch a platform that would help businesses do newsletters. The most simple use case, right? How do you do broadcasting through this new messaging medium that is going to become very like that is already popular and that's going to become more and more popular? And basically what we did is we did what later came like was known as channels. So basically Telegram later released a functionality called channels that allowed you to basically grow a following on Telegram and publish content through that channel that like people would see. It wasn't like basically it wasn't interactive, like so people cannot reply to you. It's basically just to use that as a source of information, kind of like Twitter, right? So and it's still on Twitter, you can reply to the things, you can repost them, etc. On Telegram it's like pretty much one way. You can forward them to friends, but you cannot like reply to the thing. Now when we did that, we instantly got a lot of feedback about the fact that like it's not only about like messaging and broadcasting, it's also about like feedback and two-way. And we got in touch with a lot of businesses that were just saying like, hey, we need live chat, we need orders, we need forums, and we need menus. And that's how we've basically tapped into that market of business to customer communication that is based from messaging. The funny thing is, we like our first product, it wasn't a web-based product, and it wasn't an app, and it even wasn't a mobile first product, right? It was a messenger first product. Like, it was a messaging app first product because it was a bot that was building bots. You talked to the bot, to our bot, to build your bot. We didn't have a web interface at that point, and still, this like even though we didn't have that web interface, we grew to like hundreds of thousands of bots created on that platform. And then Facebook, like 9 months later, Facebook Messenger opened up their API, and we focused our efforts to build the biggest platform for Facebook Messenger because it's the biggest social network in the world, and Messenger was one of the biggest messaging apps in the world. We've built that, and the rest is history. Basically, that's how we've come up with the idea, and how we've started building for Messenger. Now, I think one of the other important things is that last year we've opened up 2 new channels,
Yeah.
which is email and SMS.
Mm-hmm.
So ManyChat is not a, like, we started as a messenger marketing platform, but now we are an SMS marketing platform and a email marketing platform. And the idea is that as a business, like, you don't need like separate marketing platforms for every channel that you're going to be using. You want to have a master list of your customers.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have that database. And it doesn't matter if you have an email, if you have a phone number, or if you have them on Facebook Messenger. You just want to be able to have a direct connection with your customers, reply to their messages, to answer their questions, to receive their orders, and also to have outbound connection, to send people who subscribe to those types of notifications, to send notifications about promotion, sales, back in stock, whatever you have. And yep.
Interesting. So when you came up with the idea for what would become ManyChat, were you living in Russia or were you here in the States? And the reason that I ask is because in the States, we had always used SMS. We were
Yeah.
particularly an SMS first
Yeah.
country. But, you know, I live in Mexico now and everybody uses WhatsApp. Every
Yes.
single person uses WhatsApp.
Yes.
Every single person uses Facebook Messenger. So if
Yeah.
you know, and so that's basically where my question comes from, because like if you were
Yeah.
living outside of the US, then you would have seen this
Yes.
opportunity a little bit differently.
Yes. Exactly. And I think that's part of the reason. Actually, when we were starting and launching the first iteration, I was actually with my wife on our honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
So we were on islands, and but yes, of course, the fact that uh, the US was and continues to be is very, very SMS heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the reason for that is because in the US, like, we have free SMS, right? So when I look at my AT&T plan, like, there is no cost for sending messages.
Exactly.
Rest of the world, it's different. And rest of the world, everybody pays for every text message. At least they used to. And that's why companies like WhatsApp and Viber and Line and Kakao Talk and Telegram, etc., have spread so fast, because it's a very simple and a very it's a very specific and valuable proposition. Hey, like, text your friends for free, like, only use the data, right? And text isn't a lot of data if you're not sending pictures, and still sending pictures over WhatsApp would be uh, less expensive than sending them as an MMS, which
Yep.
would also cost money. So given the fact that the rest of the world has paid text messages, create this opportunity to disrupt that, right? And in the US, you do not have that took much more time, because messaging apps had to become so much better than SMS for them to get picked up, because they support like group chats and like bigger like video files and filters, and like you have all those things. And still, even after this, like, for the basic use case, like, a lot of people would still use text. The one thing is the iMessage. When iMessage was released, given that there is over 50% of US population that use iOS, iMessage has become the messaging app that dominates basically the US market in terms of messaging apps, that nobody considers a messaging app, because it's already there.
Yeah.
It's like a default, like, you just see the blue bottle, the blue bubble.
Yeah.
And but like, that's a messaging app, because they have their own protocol, they have their own features, etc., etc., and they have their own APIs. So I think that's the that's how actually the tables have turned in terms of messaging still growing really fast in the US. It's when the iMessage and that default, the power of the default has come into play. And now we're seeing like a lot of growth across the board, like across all of the messaging apps in the US. Even like WhatsApp, which started with a very low user base, is right now growing really fast because of international travel, like at least before COVID, right?
Yeah.
You're going to Europe, you're going to Mexico, you're going to South America, you're going to like whatever other country you're traveling to, and you encounter people and you have family across and you're like traveling and everybody create, so there is this cross pollination of the messaging apps.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of people are using not just one messaging app but like a lot of them. And yeah,
It's
and now there's
interesting.
other, yeah, there's other trends like social apps becoming messaging apps. So things like Instagram used to be just content consumption, like, and they were considered to be public social apps, right? And actually the same with Facebook, to be honest. Like Facebook like started as just as a public social network, like, just to share publicly with your friends, etc. And Messenger as an app has grown out of that, right? It was, Messenger was a part of Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people, like you remember when they got separated, a lot of people got pissed off.
Yeah.
But they separated, uh, and still that app has become a part, basically, has grown out of that public social app. Instagram, same thing. Like DMs are becoming more and more popular, and people use them all the time, right? They connect through them, they talk through them, etc. So now, like Instagram, considered to be a social network, is actually in a lot of ways one of the most popular messaging apps in the world.
Yeah.
So there's no clear, and like if we talk about WeChat, same thing. WeChat, like it's considered to be a messaging app, but it has a huge social aspect. It has a feed, it has all the things that you would expect from a social media app. So feels like there is no clear distinction. It's the lines between social and messaging apps start to blur, and the thing that we have to be aware of is the what is the underlying, what is the first principle type of use case that we're trying to solve, and that is direct, private, one-on-one communication, right, between people and businesses. So
Gotcha.
that is the thing that is happening, basically. And that is the opportunity for businesses to become more relevant and to grow by using these new channels that have highly engaged billions of people who are using those apps, and not getting stuck into like in the old world where uh, like on desktop you had one channel, one digital one-on-one channel, which was email. On mobile it's completely different, and SMS is very important, mobile email is very important. Messaging apps are going to be the ones that are going to be driving the business. Like they are going to be the most important channel, because it's going to be commerce that is built into those channels. iMessage supports Apple Pay. Google is releasing Google's business messages that supports GPay.
Mm-hmm.
The every other messaging app, Facebook supports Facebook Pay. WhatsApp supports also, like I don't know if they called it Facebook Pay or WhatsApp Pay, but they basically they support the same thing. There's all these integrated payment solutions. So it's not just like about connection. It's not about just transactional messages. It's about driving actual revenue. And the majority of revenue is now driven by mobile phones. It's not driven by desktop. In the
Right.
US, it's still desktop dominant. Like it's like 45% versus like 55%. In 2021, it's going to switch. In even the US is going to become mobile dominant in terms of mobile sales. But all over the world, the revolution already happened.
Right.
We have over 70% of sales, actually 64 worldwide, 64% of sales, that's eMarketer's data, are coming through mobile channels. If we talk about Asia, then it's over 70% of sales that is coming through mobile. And that's not because they're different. They're just, they've leapfrogged desktop, and they are showing the future now. They were lagging behind, and now they leapfrog the desktop technology, and that's why everything is happening there on mobile. So
Yeah.
this device is I
Yeah.
can barely show.
Now we can see it.
Yeah.
This
So
device.
it's different. It's different from desktop. Like everybody's thinking about like the like it's just two modes, etc. No, this is completely different in terms of how we use it.
Yeah.
This is a part of ourselves. This is, for better or worse, this is the device we wake up with and we go to sleep with and we go to the bathroom with, and we like, it's a part of ourselves. And that's why it's so important. That's why it's so important for businesses and agencies to think about their mobile strategy, because it's going to be the only strategy that's going to be valuable.
Yeah, there's one big lesson that I want everybody to think about as they're listening to you tell your story about ManyChat. And basically, it's the perspective that you brought to the table, having come from a completely different environment. So, America, as you're probably very well aware of, is very America focused. Like we always
Sure.
grow up thinking we're number one, we're number one. We never question if we're actually number one, which I love my country. I love the United States. I still think it's the greatest country on earth, and that there's more opportunity in the States. But we're not number one across everything, and we're not leading the world across everything. And I think that one of the things, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but one of the things that I believe has helped you to visualize the power of ManyChat and the scale that ManyChat could grow to is because you came from a different environment and you saw, hey, like these other countries, these other 200 and however many other countries that are outside the United States are actually paving the way for the future.
Yeah.
And so then when you took that vision and you were like, hey, this is already happening, let's see how we can plug into the mobile first strategy,
Yeah.
because eventually it's going to come to the United States. I think that that's one of the things that was like your superpower, because nobody in the US was thinking the same way that you were, at least in terms of
It's,
like what I know.
yeah, it's not my superpower, just the way that it happened. But yes, you're completely right. Like having, if you, like for example, if some country leapfrogs a certain technology, they can start running into the future in terms of social behavior.
Yeah.
So again, like um, and I think China is a great example because of the huge popularity of WeChat. Like WeChat changed the way people live in terms of how they do stuff, and like
Hmm.
uh, I think a lot of companies would love to have that same presence in people's lives as WeChat does in the Chinese population's life. Uh, it's basically the default operating system for communicating with each other, and it's the messaging app, and it's the social app, and it's the payment app, and it's the all the those other. There's so many use cases that are being powered by WeChat. Um, E-commerce, bookings, like just like taxi ride hailing, like everything else. Um, and when you see that, the question that like Paul Graham is like one of the, I don't know, startup gurus. Like
Hmm.
he's the founder of Y Combinator. He's just a very, very smart dude who seen hundreds of companies go through certain challenges and has developed a certain level of pattern recognition and logic behind that, that just very, very valuable. One of the things he says is the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed,
Yeah.
right? So are already people who are living in the future, it's just that it's just spread out across the world. And for
Yeah.
some things, it's going to be US. For some other things, it's going to be some other country. And it just depends on the situation. And those people who do live in the future, they basically get the ability to glimpse what's going to happen for the rest of the world, and then build towards that. It's kind of like seeing where the puck will be, and like
Exactly.
basically building a company to power that. And like take for example Elon Musk, right? uh, he just saw before like a lot of other people,
Hmm.
not only saw but had the talent and had the conviction and the resources to go after that vision, that hey, all of us are going to be driving electric cars, right? And that we will need to transition to sustainable energy. And he's just, yep, that's the vision. It's inevitable. I want to be part of that. I'm going to build a company around that.
Yep.
and execute it, right? Um, some people might have also had that vision, but like then all the other parameters start to kick in. But I think understanding that, and that's why one of the really important suggestions is being on the edge of technology, right? Because if you make a conscious decision to be on the edge of technology, uh, you are going to be living in the future by default, because you're going to be tackling technology that is not popular yet. You're going to be going into channels that are not popular yet, and you're going to be, some of those are never going to spread across like the general population, and are just going to die down. And some of those are going to be big wins, because they are going to be the future that everybody's going to be using.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, then sure, some of those things so those investments into learning are going to be are not going to yield results, but still you're going to learn. Like there's a lot of power, and there's a lot of value in just doing that, and just practicing that skill of learning new stuff and developing new stuff.
Yeah.
But then I think the big result is going to be that once you are there, is that you're always on the wave and not behind it. You're paving the way for the future technology, and you are the one that people look up to in terms of what you're doing with the market. And you're not just the majority. If you're just the majority, then you're gonna get, like, you're gonna be average, and then you're gonna get average results. Like you're gonna get average return. Uh, it doesn't take a lot of time to be on that edge. Like it's just like 10%, 20% more effort than the average, and you're going to be like in the top 5% of knowledge and expertise in terms of these channels.
Yeah.
So understanding that, and like making that conscious switch, like that conscious decision that, hey, I am going to be paving the way, I am going to be learning new stuff, is
Right.
going to make you create a competitive advantage for your business and for your agency. Because look at the businesses right now, like a lot of them who haven't had built those digital strategies and those connections with their customers, how much were like the restaurants struggling, who could not get the word out that they're ready for pickup, for order delivery, and everything else.
Yep.
And those who have that direct connection with their customers, they control their destiny, because
Absolutely.
they can send out a message, they can talk to them, they build that relationship. So this is why it's so important. And like you don't want to be in a position where like you're discovering the power of that connection with your customers in a crisis.
When it's too
You want
late.
to have
Yep.
that, yeah, you want to have that prepared.
Awesome, man. Well, we're out of time.
Yeah.
Dude, I could talk to you because now we're getting into a whole like sociological conversation. And I went to school for sociology. I think you went to
Yeah.
school for psychology as well.
Yes, I did.
So
Love
yeah, we could
psychology.
talk about psychology, sociology, and how technology is influencing that. That's got to be a whole nother show.
Yeah.
But I do want to thank you so much for coming on. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
My Instagram.
Awesome.
So mike.d.yn.
Okay, perfect. And who
Yeah.
would be the perfect person to reach out to you, either through ManyChat in that capacity or another capacity?
Yeah. So like you can just reach out.
Okay.
And if you have questions, like I do get a lot of messages, and like we are growing. Like we have, as you've mentioned, like we have like 1 million businesses that are connected to ManyChats across the world. But I try to at least read through the comments and like questions, and sometimes to take the time to reply. So but yeah, it's just, if you want to like understand what's my focus, it's about building the best product in the world to help businesses grow by building meaningful relationships with their customers.
Awesome, man. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Mike, for being on the show. To all of our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in today, and make sure that you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom. Bye, guys.